Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the next episode in our ongoing new figure showcase series, where we take a look at a new release being added to my collection and do a quick review and posing session. And today we're sticking with Hottoys and their MCU releases, focusing on the classic Loki 6-scale figure from Marvel's Loki Season 1 line. And this figure, for the moment, marks the completion of that Loki Season 1 set from Hottoys. We previously took a look at TVA Loki, Sylvie, and President Loki, and now I think we wait for Season 2 to drop and see if there's anything there that Hottoys might choose to tackle. If anything, I'm really hoping to finally get a Mobius, since he did play a pivotal role in the first season, and I have no doubt he'll play a significant role in Season 2. But we're here to talk about classic Loki, and look, I think the moment he appeared on the show, people, including me, fell in love with that Loki variant. First of all, it was amazing that Marvel managed to give us a comic-accurate look for the character. It could have easily been played off as a joke, and instead they actually made him a pivotal part of the story. And I like his background, being that he's an older Loki that's hidden away from Thanos to sort of live his life in exile. And I also like that with age, and I'm sure practice, his powers of illusion seem much more powerful than anything else we had seen up to that point from the other versions of Loki. And his final stand against the Guardian at the end of time was a pretty remarkable moment in the show. Now, the other interesting thing here, he is actually the second version of this character released in 6-scale format. The first was released as a third-party figure by Toys, and I distinctly remember it because I actually had that version on order, because I made the mistake of assuming that Hottoys would never tackle this figure. And of course, they did release a teaser image, but in my mind at that point, I was just thinking, this is one of those Hottoys teaser images that goes nowhere and they'll never release it. Of course, I was wrong and the pre-order dropped soon after, so I did something I actually don't like doing. I canceled that So-So order, lost an NRD, and ordered the Hottoys. For me, with very few exceptions, if I get the chance to purchase a licensed figure over the unlicensed, I'm going to go with the licensed anytime. So let's take a look at the full package we're getting here. And like the other Loki released, it's a pretty decent one. We're getting an array of hands, some magical effect pieces, which I do think are reused from both TVA and President Loki. You get his duffel bag, an alternate faceplate, which we'll look at more in depth on the figure itself, a damaged helmet from the moments after the battle with the Big Guardian, and you do get another alligator Loki. Honestly, I forgot he came with this variant, and more importantly though, you also get Toad Thor in a specimen jar, so nice to get that Thor variant. Now, what is missing here is the chalice. The original pre-order announcement actually came with a chalice, and for some reason, licensing related of course, they updated the release and removed that accessory, which was a shame. So-So version did include that, but while I was a little annoyed at the change, it wasn't enough to make me skip the figure. So let's take a look at the accessories in closer detail, and we'll start with the hands. And he comes with two hands to hold the magical effects, a pair of, let's call them, expressive hands to allow you to put the figure in a nice dynamic display. And what is interesting is that the hand right in the center of the set is clearly meant to hold that chalice and that cup. And Hottoys still included it, even though they removed that accessory from the set. But look, if you do get a cup on the secondary market, there is a hand specifically designed to hold it. As far as the pieces themselves, they're molded with and painted with a bright yellow to simulate Loki's gloves, and they actually have a really nice texture to them. And one thing I like is that the fingertips are a little dirty and worn down, so nice weathering effect there. Next up, you get his magical effects, and again, this is the third time in a row Hottoys has issued these. They've used them again with TVA Loki, President Loki, and now Classic Loki. Very much feels like they took the if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach with these. And the pieces look great, there's no denying that. Hottoys did an amazing job with these, from the variations in the green on the flame, kind of getting a feeling that the flames are alive, to the detail work at the tendrils. So not much has changed here, and it's clear Hottoys is just getting as much use out of these as they can. And if there is any figure from Loki Season 1 that should use these, it's Classic Loki without a doubt. Next up, you get his duffel bag, which he carries around in the show. It's another nice accessory with a great canvas-like material selected for the bag itself, with the nice green straps. Detail work on the zippers and the clips holding the bag are also really nicely done. So a nice, unique piece overall that does give you some other display options. And final accessory is the battle-damaged crown, which I think we see laying in the ruins following Classic Loki's death during his confrontation with the Guardian, in what, again, I'll reiterate, has to be one of the coolest MCU scenes to date. The helmet is really nicely done here with a lot of almost burn marks and charring on the surface, as well as some really well applied texturing to make it feel like it was in immense heat. Even the horns maintain that level of great paintwork, and it is a nice display piece, although you cannot put it on the figure itself, so it is purely an accessory. Now the next pieces aren't real accessories, at least I don't consider them that. They're actually more character variants, and the first one we saw before was President Loki, and again, I had actually forgotten the classic also came with his own alligator Loki. Looking at him closely, I'm pretty sure this is identical to the one that we got before, and just like with that figure, it looks great. Paintwork on the body with the textured scales are really well done, down to the webbed claws. Detail work on the head is also impressive, with great work on the skin folds on his lower jaw, nicely done eyes, and the highlight has to be that little Loki crown that he's wearing, along with the tie holding the crown down to the body. Piece also does have some minor articulation with the jaw opening to reveal a nice interior, and the tail actually has some flex to give it some slight posability. Now the next one is actually really exciting, and it's Toad Thor in his specimen jar. Now in the show you see him buried and jumping around trying to escape, and Hottoys recreated that extremely well here with the amazing detailing on the specimen jar, including some nicely printed labels, the nice cover on the jar, and a very clear plastic used for the piece itself. And the highlight is in the interior. You get this very dynamically posed Toad Thor with his cape flapping behind and posed up like he's jumping towards the glass. So nice to have another variant to display along with the rest of the Lokis. Now you also do get a backdrop, and it's the lenticular piece that basically has the Loki show logo on top along with falling letters. It looks nice, and if you pan left to right and up and down, the logo does change nicely between different versions, recreating those opening credits from the show. Piece is good, although it's just thicker cardboard. For me, I would have preferred an environmental diorama, even something like the plastic portals that came with Sylvie and TVA Loki, since they add a little to a display and help recreate some scenes from the show. This piece is nice, but I think it just takes away from the realism you're trying to create with these figures. So, while okay, it's not a piece I'll be using. And finally, you get the standard hexagonal base, which fits in well with the rest of the figures on the line, including the classic Loki tag at the front and the silhouette of the figure on the top and nice green. Nice, but the figure's pretty solid and really doesn't need a stand unless you're trying to get super dynamic. So now let's get to the main course, and that's the sculpts. And it's plural because we really are getting two here. Now these are actually swappable faceplates, so you don't need to remove the sculpt from the figure. Just carefully pull off the face that's connected by magnets, and look, what can I say other than it looks incredible. The likeness to Richard E. Grant is here without a doubt, and the detailing, as an older actor, the portrait has, the face naturally just has more wrinkles and just more detail work to recreate and work with, and Hottoys did an amazing job capturing those wrinkles and those facial details. Paintwork here also top notch. I mean, this looks so real, and of course the eyes continue that very realistic style that Hottoys has with all their sculpts. So if this had been it, I would have been totally satisfied and happy, but we get the second smiling sculpt that might possibly look even better. Usually having these very expressive looks can limit your posability, but here I love that Hottoys gave us both options, and this smiling, almost crazed look works so well, especially if you want to recreate his final stand. The detail work again is amazing, with Hottoys capturing the expression well, along with the details around the cheeks and the mouth, and the work with the teeth, really impressive. I think this is my favorite of the two sculpts easily. Now the rest of the figure looks great, recreating the classic comic look for the character, with the awesome helmet and the very long horns, and I love the detail work on the head wrap that he has under the helmet. The rest of the figure is detailed perfectly, with the green undersuit being completely unrestrictive and letting you really pose this guy up. But Hottoys didn't just throw some yellow fabric here. There's some subtle detailing and different material choices here that really give the figure some depth. The neck piece is an almost leather-like rubber, and the fringe elements all show some weathering. Piece around his waist actually has some printed elements to it that again add just a little more detail, and the gloves are silky material. So there's a nice juxtaposition of materials there. And then the cape. It's wired so you can get some nice poses here, but the key for me is the bottom, where you can see how frayed and dirty it is. It's really amazingly weathered. And if I had to pick a negative at all, it would just be the boots. They look good, and I guess for aesthetic purposes, Hottoys went with a single molded piece, but the split cut would have let you pose the figure up a little more easily. But look, overall thoughts on this guy? For a figure that could come across really simple, Hottoys did a killer job, and the sculpts are a key highlight, and even the accessories for the most part are really well done. I know there's reuse here, but I don't think it's a real negative since those pieces look so good with Classic. Only issue I had, and I'm basically fessing up here since I believe in full transparency, but only issue was clearly my own fault. When I was removing the plastic wrap on the boots, I ended up using an X-Acto knife. Normally I would just peel off the tape, but for some reason I decided to be impatient, and I used a blade, and yeah, as I was slitting through the tape, I went a little too hard, and my hand slipped, and I ended up stabbing the leg. So if you see a slight imperfection on the fabric on the leg, that was my fault. So cautionary tale for all of you on what not to do. But again, overall it's a great looking piece, and for me that smiling sculpt just looks so good. I think right now I'm leaning towards displaying him with that sculpt and the magical effects to recreate the Last Stand. Not to take away from the other options, but that was just such a great moment in the show. So, that was a quick look at Classic Loki, which brings the Hottoys Loki Season 1 line to a close for the moment. And honestly, looking at all the figures released from the show, I think collectively this has to be one of the best overall lines Hot Toys has done for Marvel recently, with each figure being outstanding. So let me know your thoughts on this one, and as always, thanks for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.